So I am going to do a quick mini lesson for your assignment of a symbols reading notebook entry. And I'm going to use the story we just read, Mr. Peabody's Apples, to kind of show you what you could write about in your reading journal. So you're going to take the book you're reading now, and you're going to think about symbols, motifs, and themes that are in your book. On your reading journal, you need to put your title of your book. So here my title was Mr. Peabody's Apples. And we always want to underline our title. Okay? And you're going to write about the symbols, motifs, and themes in your book. Now, you might want to do it a little bit like a chart. So here, I'm going to write symbols. Okay? And I'm going to think about the symbols that were in Mr. Peabody's Apples. And the first symbol that I have is the feathers that were in the pillow. And I think, I'm going to do a little here because that's my symbols, and this is going to be what they represent. I think the feathers represent all the people that Tommy told the rumor about Mr. Peabody being a thief. Two. Okay? Then I think we also, I'm going to do a little line here, had a symbol of the pillow, the stitched pillow at the end, that represented Mr. Peabody. And how even though Tommy tried to tell everyone that the rumor wasn't true, Mr. Peabody is still not quite the same after. Just like the pillow after it had been cut by the scissors wasn't quite the same. So I looked at two symbols from my book. Some of you might be saying, like, there are no symbols in my book, and symbols are hard to figure out. Remember, lots of times weather can be a symbol, or colors can be a symbol. Like, if the dark clouds are coming in, it might represent, like, a character feeling nervous about something. Or if they're wearing a black hooded sweatshirt, it might represent them feeling like they don't fit in or that they're sad. But you could also look at motifs in your reading journal. So some motifs I thought were represented in Mr. Peabody's Apples. Rumors, definitely. And, you know, forgiveness, maybe. Or accountability. So, and then I want to explore some theme messages. What do you think the author is trying to say about rumors? So I think the author is trying to say that words are powerful. And you can't always take back everything you say. Or fix everything you say. So here, what I've done in my reading journals, I've shared some symbols, some motifs, and some theme messages, all from our read aloud. What I want you to do is think about your book. Are there any symbols in your book that you think represent different things? And again, there's no right or wrong answer here. The author's not going to come out and say this dark hoodie symbolizes the fact that Catherine doesn't feel like she fits in the class. And so she wears her dark hoodie to let the reader know that she feels like an outcast. An author's not going to say that. you've got to kind of look between the lines and think deeply about objects and colors and weather features in your story and what might they be representing, and you've got to make some inferences or guesses about that. If you're struggling with the symbols, fine, try to see if you can locate one. If you can't, you should be able to come up with at least one or two motifs from your story, which again, those motifs are those big life topics. Oftentimes the symbols, motifs, and theme messages are connected. And if you can come up with a theme message that you think your author's trying to say, I want you to put that in there as well. So a couple reminders about the reading journals. 10 minutes of jotting max. Spelling doesn't count. Grammar doesn't count. You don't need complete sentences. If you don't have your reading journal, write it on a piece of paper. I am going to check some of your work on Friday. And try to do the best that you can. Maybe you just make a list of possible symbols and you and I can talk about, do we think that really represents something? You should definitely be able to come up with at least 1 to 2 motifs. So in the reading journal, try to locate one symbol, okay? And try to figure out what it represents. If you're struggling with that, at least come up with 1 to 2 motifs or big life topics in your reading books. And then try to explain one theme message. I don't want you to be like stuck staring at a blank piece of paper. So if you can't figure out any of these things, maybe just tell me a little bit about what's going on in your book right now. Do some jots, do some thoughts about your book. And I do want these on pieces of paper because I'm going to go around and check them when we get to school. So I'm not going to put an assignment thing up for you to hand it in on Google Classroom. You're going to write it down on a piece of paper. So again, in your reading book, your book that you're reading, are there any symbols? Try to locate one and figure out what it could represent in your reading journal. If you can't do that, come up with 1 or 2 motifs or big life topics and try to explain one theme message from the motif. Now, some of you might be just beginning a new book. I'm fine if you use a book that you just finished to explain your symbols, motifs, or themes. 10 minutes, completion grade tomorrow. Good luck.